My parrot impression is flawless, nobody mention it. The washing machine is finishing, I made my coffee, way too strong, but nothing is going to get in the way of filming Animorphs 15. Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews, I'm Judith, and yes, you are watching the 15th instalment of my Animorphs series. Today we are back on another Marco book. If you want to know my feelings on Marco, feel free to go and watch the whole playlist, but I'm semi-okay with it, because there is also a hammerhead shark on the cover, and I love hammerhead sharks. Just what thing looks like it really doesn't belong in nature? The hammerhead shark. But also, let's discuss the tagline, "The Yeeks are out there," because, I mean, we already knew they were there, so I have to assume it's talking about a distinctly wild fashion sense. Maybe? Let's kick off with the book. Marco gets us through the introduction fairly quickly. You know, there might be slugs in your brains. It's really hard to know if there are slugs in everyone's brains. You'll never know if you have a slug in your brain. Well, you would know if it were you. You'll never know if your friends have slugs in their brains. We kick off this story strong with a trip to the mall. No, okay, but they do go to a new, different, mega mall across town. One day I will actually make bingo cards for you to cross things out on, but it is not this day, so for now you will just have to continue to imagine. So the reason they're at this new mall is, I assume it was Cassie's idea, but there is a new restaurant that is legally distinct from the Rainforest Cafe. It's not called that, but it is the Rainforest Cafe that has opened up in this new mall. And somehow, I assume because it's the 90s, they have permission to have live birds there that people just like poke and throw food at. That's not something, no. And so Cassie turned to prankster Marco to work out what they were going to do about this restaurant that was doing animal abuse and everyone was just fine with it. They need revenge for these parrots. And parrots are kind of the perfect animal for this because parrots can talk. In a twist of events, and also possibly because this is Cassie's plan and as we all know he's sweet on her, Jake is kind of cool with using their morphing powers in this way, which is not that typical of Jake, so double standards? They follow the waitress who takes the parrots out to kind of clean the perch and stuff. They follow her, acquire the parrot DNA and morph parrot all before she comes back. They hide the pre-existing parrots in a cupboard that apparently is just fine. We're reassured that it is safe for parrots. When morphing parrot, Marco realises partly why Cassie was so upset that these birds are being mistreated, because turns out the parrot brain is pretty smart. Unlike some other animals, the Animorphs aren't completely overwhelmed by instinct immediately. Are we going to have a quick debate about what level of thought an animal has to have before we'll let it be abused in a restaurant? Or should we just not have any animals in restaurants? So the waitress takes the parrots back to their perch and yes, they begin to talk. There's a number of great parrot-based moments in this next section, but the best one is squawk. I can't do a parrot noise. Squawk. What's that on your head? A wombat? Squawk. It's a toupee. It's a toupee. My parrot impression is flawless. Nobody mention it. Having persuaded the restaurant manager that having exotic birds that close to the public is probably not a good idea, they get out of there. It's unclear how. I don't know how they managed to swap the parrots back again, and the book does not care to explain. Tobias is out there in human form, just like slow clapping the gang who've done a wonderful job. Obviously he's invested in the well-being of birds. Everything has gone off without a hitch so far. When Marco notices Eric is there. Do you remember Eric from a few books back? Yeah, Eric, the kid Marco went to school with, except he's not a kid. He's a chi, which is an android. Eric extends his android hologram technology in order to conceal all of them so they can chat in private. Eric's a pretty chill guy, but do you remember in that book he kind of went off the rails, so they're all hyper aware that he could become a pretty effective killing machine if he wanted to. Thankfully, the Chi are pacifists. Rescuing the two free Hawkbajir was a good thing. They may prove to be the seeds of something very powerful and good. You may have begun the salvation of an entire race. I shrugged. We like to keep busy. It's either rescue entire races or play Nintendo. This may be the first time this entire series that I've properly, mildly laughed at a Marco joke. Eric wants to talk to Marco alone about someone very close to him. Now, if you're not keeping up with the series, firstly, what are you doing? And secondly, you will not know that Eric is referring to Marco's mum, who is currently the host body for the head leader of all the evil Yeeks, Visser 1. Turns out Marco's mum / Yeek has returned to Earth and is doing some kind of secret project. I don't mean a secret project like I do a secret project. I mean like a secret evil project in the waters of some island. After mentioning to Marco that he might want to be careful when doing this one because sometimes the heart can overwhelm the head, I'm sure that's not going to be an issue later. Eric gives them another piece of information. We have reason to believe that some new species of controller is at Royan Island, the island where the evil project is happening. We believe they are called Lyrans. I am excited for the addition of new sentient species to the world. Marco has no idea whether or not he would kill his mum to stop Visser 1. I mean, to be fair, I don't know that I would either. If he were very confident in that decision, I would probably be a little bit concerned. Marco and Jake tell the others. They relay this information back. Visser 1 is here, there's something going on an island, but Marco is very clear he doesn't want Jake to tell them that Visser 1 is his mum. Essentially, this is boiled up in Marco doesn't want pity from people, which I can understand. I mean, it's not not nice to feel pitied when you don't want to be, but we're very much getting Marco's real, I guess, like, heroic flaw, this humour to cover pity in this book. You say, isn't it terrible about global warming? And I say, no, it's funny. We're going to bring on global warming because we ran too many leaky air conditioners, we used too much spray deodorant, so now we'll be doomed to sweat forever. That's not sad, that's irony. Oh, all of the climate change stuff in this book depresses me so much because we've so not got anywhere with it in the 20 years since these books were published. It's just worse. So Axe, our resident alien expert, because he is an alien himself, fills us in on what Lyrans are, or who Lyrans are. He's never met them, but he knows the theory. Lyrans are a sentient race of amphibians. They can also apparently read your mind if you get close enough, which makes the idea of the Yeeks enslaving them quite odd. A Lyran would just be able to hear the Yeek in the other Lyran's mind. There's no way that they would end up being controlled. But if they have managed it, this could spell doom for the Animorphs, because if there's Yeeks what can read minds, they will immediately know that these are human kids and not, in fact, Andalite bandits. In the end, I told Jake we had to do it. We had to find out what the Yeeks were doing on Royan Island, but I told him not to tell the others the rest of it, about my mum. I still hoped somehow we'd be able to avoid my dark secret and avoid pity. Things that have never gone well for this group. Keeping secrets, new unpracticed morphs, any plan. So Saturday morning, off they go to take a quick look-see at Royan Island. It's quite a long way to swim to Royan Island, so the plan is to fly out there, wait a minute, morph into their dolphin morphs, Axe has a shark morph, and then go. Tobias points out he does not have a dolphin morph, and that to get one he would need to be a hawk and land on a dolphin, which feels slightly difficult. Tobias caves and says, yes, I'll go and get the morph, and there's this inkling that there's something else going on here, like maybe Tobias is afraid of water, or not having any air? So to get to the gardens, it's hungry, hungry seagull time, one of my favourite morphs. Marco is in full I want to have fun mode, so he persuades Jake to ride the roller coaster with him while seagulls, and I just really hope that got made into a souvenir keyring. So Tobias is going for his dolphin morph. Talons raked forward, wings flared to act as air brakes. Tobias struck, and then he stuck. Talons sank into smooth rubbery dolphin flesh while the dolphin was still arcing through the air. It was a weird aerial ballet, the huge dolphin and the tiny hawk colliding 10 feet above the water. It would have been beautiful if it hadn't been insane. It's cool. Apparently Tobias isn't hurting the dolphin. I don't necessarily believe that, but that's what the book has told me is happening, so let's go with it. But unfortunately, the dolphin wants to play. Tobias is, unsurprisingly, not a fan of this. We all yelled helpful advice. Hold your breath. Gee, really? Do you think? Hold my breath? Tobias managed to respond. He must be okay, I said. He's still capable of being sarcastic. I've now laughed at 2 Marco jokes. 2021 is turning out to be quite strange indeed. They spy the island, at one point apparently owned by someone called Royan, who was a bootlegger, but no time to think about that because what they are interested in is under the water. They morph dolphin/shark, and despite the dolphin mind's lack of desire to hang out with a shark, they still end up having a pretty fun time. That is until their dolphin echolocation spots something unusual under the water. Turns out the Yeeks are using the same kind of hologram technology that the Chi use in order to hide an underwater base. They poke their heads through the hologram to see a network of tunnels and human controllers working at computers. It would look like a normal office, but it's underwater and there are Hawk-Bajir standing guard. While those who cannot breathe underwater, aka the dolphin morphs, go up to have a quick gulp of air at the surface, Axe warns them that there are hammerhead sharks heading their way. Marco is a little bit nervous about fighting a shark, let's not forget. He was bitten in half by one earlier on in the series. More sharks arrive and Marco runs away, but these sharks seem extra weird. The Animorphs manage to wound a shark, but unlike normal shark behaviour, those sharks do not then attack that shark. It's smart sharks. How do you escape smart sharks? Well, it turns out you escape smart sharks by leaping out of the water because sharks can't do that. They manage to get out of the way of the sharks only to hear the sound of an underwater siren, which all the sharks follow. That siren is apparently announcing the arrival of a submarine, not like a human submarine, it's like a spaceship kind of submarine. There's a Captain Kirk-esque command chair, and standing beside the chair was a bizarre creature. It had pebbly yellowish skin that seemed slimy, like it was coated with Vaseline. It sat like a frog on big hind legs with webbed feet, but instead of a frog's tiny front legs, this creature had 4 tentacles spaced evenly around its body. But who's in the chair? It's Visser 1, aka Marco's mum. She doesn't seem to think the dolphins are anything suspicious, and she just I was about to say swims, but she submarines past them and into the base. So they go home and Marco realises that his book report is due tomorrow, and he has bafflingly decided to write it on Lord of the Rings, which feels like not the book you choose when you're on a deadline. But how can Marco worry about that when he's already worried that his friends will think he's a coward for swimming away from the sharks, and he's just had a run-in with his supposedly dead mother, who is in fact a leader of an alien invasion. Nice world you live in, Marco, I said softly. I could trust my father and maybe end up dead. I could try to help my mother and maybe end up dead. And as a bonus, I could get all my friends killed and doom the human race. The poor boy's got a lot on. It's later on and they've met in the woods to discuss the strange sharks. Apparently the shark can't be controllers. That can't be what's happening here. It's not like with the horses, because a shark brain is too small to accommodate a yik, which is a limitation on yiks that we did not know up to this point. So the issue here is not that the world is suddenly going to be overrun by super intelligent sharks that are going to infect the human race with yiks. That's not what we're worried about. But the presence of a Lyran is concerning. Mostly just for the Animorphs, like they cannot cope with psychic yiks. How are they going to get inside this underwater facility then to sort out whatever's happening? The answer seems to be to morph Hammerhead shark. Cassie's theory is that these guardian Hammerhead sharks, however they are being controlled, are programmed to go after anything that is not a Hammerhead shark. Thankfully, the local ocean world has a Hammerhead shark that's 14 foot long. The only issue being that you have to be a human or hawk morph to acquire DNA. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be that close to a shark that's 14 foot long. So Rachel's idea for getting the shark is to morph dolphin and basically beat up the shark until it's unconscious, and then morph human and acquire the shark's DNA. Cassie, unsurprisingly, isn't totally on board with this plan, but there doesn't seem to be another option, so they're going for it. They're at Ocean World at night, and a security guard who spots Axe of all things. Axe in Anderlite form. "Captain, look at this. Geez, will you look at this?" The first guard kept his beam on Axe, but the beam was shaking, wavering. Not surprising. Axe is not what you'd expect to find on a dark night at a tourist destination aquarium. The captain aimed a second beam, and I heard a second gun being drawn and cocked. "What's that?" the captain asked calmly. "Why, that's an Anderlite, son. That is certainly an Anderlite. Double uh-oh." In case it wasn't clear, the captain is very obviously a controller. Axe needs a distraction. Marco stands up and asks the guards which is the best way to the souvenir stand, while Tobias swoops down and talons their faces. Marco tries to grab the gun, but it kind of explodes in his hand, which honestly I'm kind of glad about. The last thing we need is these teenagers dealing with guns as well. They manage to escape into the tunnel filled with fish. You know what I mean? The thing where you walk through the tunnel and you're like underneath all the fish, and if you're me, you're panicking that you're going to die the whole time that you're walking through there. You know, that kind of tunnel. They're stuck between two guards with guns, and there's only one option. Axe swings his powerful tail at the plexiglass and enacts that very nightmare and brings all the water flowing down on them and all of the shark. Marco is basically drowning and he's terrified to morph because he's scared the shark is going to eat him. I'd be terrified the shark would eat me as a person, but hey, that's just me. He just about manages to get into the air conditioning tunnel so he's able to breathe, but the shark is following him. Only one thing to do: acquire the shark. While the shark is all floppy from being acquired, he manages to get the shark to a point where everyone else can also acquire the shark. So this makes it onto the news. I feel like I'm really low in frame and I've just noticed it. Let's tweak this. And as ever, the news gets it kind of wrong. The one guard who did remain told a bizarre tale of a half-deer, half-human creature. The aquarium spokesman sort of implied that the guards must have gotten drunk and shot up the place, causing the tunnel to shatter. What happened to all the other fish? Were they okay? Oh, and Marco fails his book report, just FYI. But hey, he's not scared of sharks anymore. Instead of obsessing over being scared of sharks, I found I was obsessing about the shark DNA inside me. I wanted to morph that shark. I wanted to be it. I wanted to know what it felt like to be so relentless, so unafraid, so totally without emotion. Just normal things. So Marco decides to go into the pool at school and practice morphing the shark, which is profoundly silly in so many different ways. Like chlorine in a swimming pool, but also he is practicing the morph, which is something I've been telling them to do for 15 books, so I'm like 60% annoyed. Halfway through the morph, some bullies come in and, yell at Marco to get out of the pool. All I had to do was walk away, and all I did was to stare at Wu's throat. I could see the arteries there, the ones that were pulsating on either side of Wu's Adam's apple. Whoa. Thankfully, Jake shows up before Marco can commit murder, and he gets everyone to calm down. The next day, they're going to Royan Island, and Jake pulls Marco aside and says, "Hey man, I'm a bit concerned." Understandable. His suggestion is Marco really ought to tell the others about what's going on, with his mum and everything. But Marco is adamant that he does not want their pity, so I guess they just don't get to know. As he morphs shark, Marco cuts his hand, which I'm sure will have absolutely no impact on his shark instincts. My every emotion and feeling simply lifted away, and I was glad, because now I was clear. Now I saw the world with perfect simplicity, perfect understanding. The world, you see, is nothing but prey, and I was nothing but hunger. Rarely do I relate to a shark, but the world being nothing but hunger is a mood. Mostly I could smell. I could smell the water as I sucked it in, relentlessly sampling, and right now I could smell blood. Who saw that coming? Thankfully, the shark brain is confused enough by the presence of the smell of blood and nothing bleeding that Marco manages to get control again. They wrangle their thoughts back into order and, true enough, manage to sneak into the facility without being attacked by other hammerhead sharks. They're in, but now they need a new morph to get around the facility, and the feeling is maybe they should go for fly, but Tobias doesn't have a fly morph, and I really think they just need to spend a whole day going around and acquiring all of the morphs that Tobias does not have yet. I think it would help them out. Before they have time to think about the logistics of morphing human and then fly all in water, that alarm goes off again and like 50 guard sharks swim at them. The end is nigh, but they swim past them. Something's not quite right here. It's time to follow these definitely not normal sharks. So they do, and they end up on kind of like a shark conveyor belt. We turned a corner into a second room, and up rose a robot arm, festooned with tools whose purpose I couldn't even guess. The robot arm arced towards the shark 2 spaces ahead of Cassie. From out of nowhere, a long, thick needle appeared. It plunged into the back of the shark's head. Yeah, they may want to not be on that conveyor anymore, especially since the next tool that robot arm uses is a drill. But there's no time, and now things are being drilled into them. I felt my brain exploding, like some mad animal was trapped inside my head and trying to claw its way out. I screamed. And then through the water, a sound reverberated, like a woo, woo, woo. So it seems to Marco that whatever it is they are putting in these shark brains that he now has, it's making the sharks smarter. The Yeeks aren't infesting the sharks yet, but they are making their brains more intelligent so that they will then be able to infest them. It's shark mutation for Yeek infestation. Because Hawk-Bajir can't go in the water, certainly not that easily, and the Yeeks need troops in the water to take over the Lyrans. It's finally time they need to try out this fly morph. They get back to human, and then things start going terribly wrong. Everyone stop morphing, stop now, I yelled, just as the others all started groaning in agony. What is it? Axe asked. I am experiencing a terrible pain. I'm not surprised. Demorph, they put something in us. What are you talking about? Rachel asked. I mean, when the Yeeks drilled into us, they left something inside. When we shrank to fly size, this whatever it is, was too big. Our fly bodies were smaller than the thing inside us. We'd have killed ourselves. It's time to think about morphing mechanics, and I'm kind of wondering how earrings would fit into this, because they're like kind of inside you. Little fly earrings? I don't know. We need a distraction. 2 teams. One to get to the controls of this place. The other 2, as Marco said, get crazy and keep the Yeeks busy. Axe, Marco and Tobias in the first group, Rachel, Cassie and me to cause a distraction. I'm not sold on this plan, but at this point I think it's safe to say they're scrambling. You know, they just need to get this weird stuff out of their heads. So they can't morph small, obviously, but given that Tobias has been able to get back to hawk form, it's safe to say that the thing is small enough that it can go into a bird head, so birds it is. Very wet, sad birds. However, Jake is team distraction in his tiger morph. He distracts a Taxon in a doorway and the birds fly on through. They manage to get in, but flying in the dark means broken tails, so they definitely need to demorph again. I feel like the Yeeks would definitely have cameras. They would just see that they were children. I don't understand. We scurried down the hallway. I reached for the door handle. I opened it. Come in, a voice said. I froze there, my head poking through the open door. My friends were hidden behind me. I said, come in, a sinister voice said. Never make me give an order twice. You won't live to hear me give it a 3rd time. It's time for a confrontation with Visser 1. My mother looked at me with the eyes of a Yeek Visser. I was expecting 4 new technicians. Where are the other 3? It would seem Visser 1 is about as bright as Visser 3 because she hasn't realised that these are in fact Andalite bandits and not controllers inside of human children. So Visser 1 lets on that she knows that Marco is her host body's son because she can hear Marco's mum in her head. Deeply horrifying, let's not dwell. But she thinks that Marco has been taken over by a controller. She doesn't think, maybe he is here for other reasons. Visser 1 barely blinked. Well, I guess I better see to this little problem outside, she said wearily. I have to wrap up this shark project and have 1,000 shark controllers ready for use on Lyran within 2 months. I don't need to be pestered by Visser 3's leftover Andalite problems. That incompetent fool will be arriving soon. I only wish these tiresome Andalite bandits would remove that particular annoyance from my life. You know she's a villain, because she said incompetent fools. Then, through the massive round porthole, I saw something large and sinuous, like a snake, but a snake that was 50 foot long and thicker than a Taxon. I mean, Visser 3 was bound to show up at some point. Axe suspects it's a coincidence that he's shown up, because there isn't enough time for him to have got there as a result of Jake's actions as a tiger. Axe points out they really need to focus on getting into the computer system for now. Because it would seem that the Yeeks have completely given up on subtlety when it comes to the Lyrans and are just going to go in there with a shark army. Axe can liquidate the things in their heads and all of the shark heads because it's kind of like a Yeek failsafe because they really don't want to be found out that they are on the planet. But he can only do that if they completely destroy the facility. That's the order of operations. Destroy the facility, the things dissolve. How to do that? Well, they could turn off the force force fields that are keeping the water out. Right, they've got 5 minutes to fight, and then they've got to either have gills or drown. Marco in gorilla form takes down the Hawk-Bajir because he's super powerful like that, and that just leaves him and Visser 1. But Marco can't talk to Visser 1 because he knows that he will just want to talk to his mum, tell her all the things that she's missed, and she'll figure out that he's not a controller, and probably figure out that he is therefore, in fact, an Andalite bandit. And then I heard a rasping, rumbling, almost belching voice. It said, Hatuma el Gasu Fato. It's like the Jadoon. That's what that feels like to me. An alien voice speaking an alien language, but I understood it. I felt it in my mind. It was like thought speak, only this was deeper, more profound. This voice seemed to use my own words in my own brain. What it said was, don't be fooled, Visser 1. This is no Andalite. Oh no, they forgot about the Lyran that was already there. And thank goodness for the hubris of Visser 1, who just says, of course it's not currently an Andalite. Right now it's a gorilla. And at that moment, Visser 3 turns up in this weird water snake form. It was bizarre. You have to understand that there was a huge roaring battle going on between my friends and the Hawk-Bajir, and I was standing there having just punched out a Lyran, but all the two Vissers seemed to care about was trashing each other. Politics. I guess it's the same everywhere. Yup. And still. They're about to be flooded when Rachel says, look, I'm just going to go and kill Visser 1, because Marco still hasn't told her what's what. Go, Jake said. We'll have gills within a minute. Marco? Yeah? Do what's right. Forget about what anyone thinks. Do what's right. And as Rachel is about to basically tear Marco's mum apart, he confesses, stop it, Rachel, that's my mum. Look, I pointed to the big round window that looked out onto the sea. There, just beyond the glass bubble, was a monstrous yellow serpent. Visser 3. He saw us spare her life, I said. How do you think Visser 3 would interpret that? He'll think she's a traitor, Axe said instantly. It's what he wants to believe. And when he sees that we've let her live, it will be all the evidence he needs. I mean, not a great plan, but it'll suffice for the plot. Visser 1 tries to kill them because they've left her alive, while Axe unlocks the computer, but Marco breaks a window and lets the water come flooding in. Marco has to morph back to human before he can get gills, and he sees the Lyran swimming for his mother, Visser 1. The guard sharks are there as well, and they are still gunning for anything that is not also a shark, so Marco morphs shark and tries to beat them off. He gets overwhelmed by shark bloodlust, but Jake pulls him out of it. The sharks have lost the signal. The facility's destroyed. Whatever's in their heads is dissolving. We're left not knowing whether the Lyran saved Visser 1 or not. It could be that they heard that strange transparent submarine leaving, but it's unclear. Like I always say, you have to decide whether you think life is a tragedy or comedy. I long ago decided to look for the joke in life. See, it was my mum who taught me that the world was funny, and if she was alive, we'd maybe still get that day in the future to sit down and laugh together. I'm fine, Jake, I said, and I'll be better when she's free again. Okay, Marco was pretty tolerable in this book. It took 15 books, but he was pretty tolerable. I think it is because he's the narrator, but I definitely enjoyed him much more than I've enjoyed how he interacts with other people. I'm also kind of excited for more morphing limits and more exploration of, like, the metaphysic of it. I'm still not planning on reading Megamorphs anytime soon, and don't tell me to. But if you have read Megamorphs, is there any mention of why CCTV is just not an issue? Is that explained? If not, I'm still not going to read them. And honestly, if so, I'm still not going to read them. But could you tell me? Comment below with that if you know it, and if not, let me know which kind of shark is your favourite kind of shark, because I care deeply about that information and I would like to know. While you're down there commenting, you can also subscribe so you don't miss the next Animorphs video, and potentially Animorphs April, where I'm going to have an Animorphs video for every single week of the month, not every day of the month. I'm not that not every day, every week. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. There's gonna be some bloopers now. Talons raked forward, wings flared to act as air brakes to by. Oh, okay, no, I should probably give you the brief before that. Axe warns them that there are hammerhead hawks. Well, it turns out you escape smart. Oh, that coffee's so strong. Oh my goodness. Instead of obsessing over being this is not a good